It's like I'm walking on sunshine.
What the hell is that?
All right, welcome. This is DoomCast number 5. It's the 29th day of August 2013. My name is Doug Owen, and I am alongside our co-host, Charlie McGrath. Go to DoomCast.com for more. And let's get right into it. What's up, Charlie?
Hi, Doug Owen. Hi, Doug Owen.
Yeah.
There's lots of. First of all, Doug Owen's, of course, his website is blacklistednews.com. Mine is wideawakenews.com. A collaborative effort every week, every Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday. Once a week is all we can promise at this point. We're going to come together and do DoomCast. I want to thank, again, I'm going to start off by saying thanks, everybody, for the great support. 1,300 on YouTube. That is a lot of people listening for an hour, man. An hour and 9 minutes, and those are some great numbers. So thank you, everybody, for the support. But I was kidding with Doug before the program that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to try to put a light face on conspiracy or on the truth movement today, which is kind of our goal, just because of all the garbage that's come out in this last week. And Doug, I do want to say that we talked a little bit about it last week and how even the press. And what I'm talking about, first of all and foremost, is the lie that the American people need to be drawn into yet another war, another bloodbath. The lie, the lies that are being presented to us as fact. This is obviously what I want to talk about tonight, Doug, and hopefully you're okay with that. But we talked a little bit last week about even how the establishment was stepping back a little bit from these stories of 1,300 dead and his chemical attack. But I do remember the discussion continuing to the point of, look, I'm thinking we're going to see a few more news cycles go by, and it isn't going away. This will be used as a catalyst to get John McCain's wet dream to come to fruition, which is more death, more killing, more invasion, more destabilization. Right. And that's exactly where we're at.
Hey, wait. No, that's not it. Hold on. Let me see. I had something good here. It was John McCain, Crazy McCain, just talking about what he envisions, and he's like very, very excited about it. Yeah. Here's his wet dream.
2 years ago, the President of the United States said Bashar Assad must go. A year ago, he said that if they use chemical weapons, they'd cross a red line. They already did before. Now they did again. The United States has little or no credibility as far as our threats as to what to do in the region. We need to take out his air capabilities. We need to take out his We need to give the fighters the equipment that they need in order to succeed.
The Al-Qaeda fighters.
That should be the policy. So far, that has not been the policy.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the policy. That should be the policy to invade, boots on the ground. And
wait a minute. Let's pick this apart a little bit here. Okay. He's saying that first of all, it's a civil war inside of Syria, and it isn't the United States of America and Syria. It isn't a colony. It isn't a territory. This is a sovereign nation, and it is a civil war that is going on there. Now, it just so happens to be the leader of this country, who I'm not an apologist for. I don't know Assad from Adam, and I'm sure he's a dictator, but I'm not willing to spill one drop of my brothers and sisters' blood in order to install a phony puppet regime that kowtowns to the special corporate oil interest like John McCain wants to do.
No, they want to punish Bashar al-Assad for his indiscretions with the chemical weapons, allegedly, according to one source in Israel, which everybody's backing away from some of this.
The Mossad came out, and through signal intelligence, right? And for those of you who don't know, signal intelligence is eavesdropping.
Sure.
They heard a brother of a friend of a guy who once dated a cousin of a lady that would happen to be on duty at the 7-Eleven on the corner, that it was Assad and his crony family members that launched this attack. This evidence is absolutely unbelievable that a nation of 310 million people would be duped into watching drones fly, watching people die. Doug Owen, it it is sickening that we are that close once again to launching a military action on questionable intelligence. In fact, I got tons of information here that proves just how questionable this intelligence is, but we'll take it down.
Well, let's go back in time. Let's go back a little ways to a war that you fought in, and that was back in 1991 or right there after. Yeah. Let's go back and let's think about some of the propaganda that we heard then. And you might be familiar with this. Some of our younger listeners, Doomers, might not be aware, but you're going to remember this.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators, took the incubators, and left the children to die on the cold floor.
Now, that didn't actually happen. She was actually a paid-for spokesperson for the Kuwaitis. I think she was a princess. She was tied and related directly to the government or some of the regime. And that all came out. I mean, there's so many examples of that, but that was played over and over again. That was when the American people bought in.
Yeah. And it was so easy then, wasn't it? It was so easy. Then, you just needed the mental image of incubators without babies and babies on cold concrete floors. Now,
all right. Now we need to come back in time though, back to the present, because we need to talk about Bashar. Come here. All right, now we're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, present day. So the Syrian government is doing a good job at, treading water at the moment, because the UN Security Council, Parliament, David Cameron, and now Barack Obama are, it seems to be maybe backing away from the idea of this strike, the idea that they would talk about the strike days before this strike and kind of use this as a path to having this conversation rather than just doing what they did with Muammar Gaddafi, and that is go it alone. So we have a kind of interesting meme, and that is that we want the consensus. We want the UN Security Council. We want this joint venture that the U.S. won't go it alone. And, of course, the Barack Obama regime has no respect for Congress, but they do for the United Nations and what the world body or world government thinks about this. And it seems tonight at this point as we speak that we're not getting a lot of international support, except for maybe McCain and Israel.
Exactly, and I don't know. I'd probably say on the surface, you're right. We're trying to paint this face that is something a little bit different than we had in Libya, even though we had some of the West, so-called allies of the West here on board on the no-fly zone. But the stories that are starting to make its way out today, Doug Owen, Obama will go it solo, and UK Cameron's ready to act regardless. He has the legal wherewithal to act regardless of what his parliament has to say. I really think I had a conversation via Skype with my friend Warren Pollock today, not to get too far off track, but on this topic, and it's like you have these leaders that are dancing, their puppets dancing to the tune of the puppet masters, and they've painted themselves into this corner. You can't have Obama, Kerry, McCain, Cameron, and all these other so-called would-be leaders come out and say it's set in stone. It is set in stone. Assad murdered 1,000 people. Paraphrasing, of course, but at the end of the day, that is the message. He did the killing. You can't do that and then step back and say, well, okay, I guess we're not going to attack. So I think, personally, our Congress is backing away from it. Our populace is 9% for it. The people in the UK, their parliament voted non-binding vote today not to strike Syria. I think regardless of what the people want, it is the furthest thing from the minds of the leadership of what the people want. They could care less. They're going to push forward, and they'll have their propagandist media cover their tracks as best they can. And who cares what you think, Doug Owen?
Well, I know that they don't care what I think. The general public, they do care what the general public thinks, though. And
how so?
Well, I mean, you don't want to.
You don't give a crap, man.
People too upset. I mean, you can push people so far, and I think that's what they're doing. They're testing the water with this.
Okay, listen. Here's the facts. You have the leader of al-Nusra on YouTube taking a knife, cutting open the chest cavity of a Syrian soldier, and biting his heart in half. This individual is backed by this administration, by John McCain, by the war hawks. The people of this country are more concerned, the vast majority of the people are more concerned about how much skin Miley Cyrus is showing than they are what's happening in our name. I don't think for 1 second that they give a crap what the populace of this country think. They need culpable deniability. They need culpable deniability. If they could say Assad did it and then label it to an intelligence agency and make them the fall guy, they'll do just that.
Oh, you stepped on a couple jokes. I had some Miley Cyrus stuff here.
Oh, my God. Bring it on, man.
Which do you find more offensive? Major Nadal Hassan or Miley Cyrus? The American people are more caught up in Miley Cyrus. And, yeah, I mean, if you see the that just shows you the moral decay. And if people are so upset about Miley Cyrus, I just want to speak to this for a moment because I think it's horrendous and horrific to see her dancing with pedo bears. But beyond that somebody thought that was okay. That's all choreographed, and that's what people are buying for their children. So when you say the people will do just about anything, the public will buy just about any lie. I don't know if it's working this time. I don't know that the people are completely absent from the conversation. The polls are there, but it's highly unpopular. People. From several standpoints, I mean, primarily monetarily, I think that's where the end of the road is for some people. They just can't, fathom paying for this. It's going to be a huge payday for the the military-industrial complex. Excuse me.
And don't get me wrong. I did say they don't care what the populace wants. That doesn't mean I don't think that there aren't more and more people waking up to it. I mean, simple stats show it. 9% the people are on board with killing Assad and invading Syria, and you see this pushback in a large part due to independent media and media outside the traditional sense. But
do you think that had an effect? There are some claiming that the alternative media may have stymied this imminent attack, though I think it's more pre-planned and pre-choreographed, and I think this is all.
I go to you before I go to Wolf Blitzer, right? I go to you before I go to Shepard Smith. That is an absolute fact.
I'm fair and unbiased, and I won't put you in the Situation Room ever, ever.
Well, I tell you, I trust free thinkers, and I think more and more people are waking up to that. If they unplug from infotainment, then they're left with a little option other than to search out information for themselves. So. I do think more and more people are waking up, but I will stick with until they kick in my door and drag me out of here and black bag me. I absolutely will stick with my statement of they could give a crap what I think or what my generation or the next generation or prior generation or what the voting public or what the Congress or what anybody else has to say about the current state of war footing. They're going to do what they're going to do. Period.
You might remember this one.
You said that if the President of the United States had launched an attack on Iran without congressional approval, that would have been an impeachable offense. Do you want to review that comment you made? Well, how do you stand on that now?
Yes, I do. I want to stand by that comment I made. The reason I made the comment was as a warning. The reason I don't say those things lightly, Chris. You've known me for a long time. I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for 17 years, or its ranking member. Mm-hmm. I teach separation of powers and constitutional law. This is something I know. So
apparently he teaches constitutional law when he's not getting money for his brother and being just a general windbag.
Got together and brought a group of constitutional scholars together to write a piece that I'm going to deliver to the whole United States.
And that happened from a bunch of constitutional scholars, whatever that may mean.
Senate pointing out the president has no constitutional authority.
All right, so the government and primarily the dictator and the shadow government, and the secretive sections of the Patriot Act 215 may give the government or the executive the privilege of launching a war if they believe that there is an imminent attack on the United States. That is absent. So we have a couple congressmen out there that are rabble-rousing. Maybe you should talk to us once in a while, Barack Obama. Maybe you should listen to the people, or maybe your constituents or the lawmakers. I don't know. I mean, someone besides you and I, and just their own whims, and Ban Ki-moon and other creeps.
Well, I think what
do you think that Biden's putting together a package with his constitutional scholars on how to impeach Obama if he launches an airstrike against Assad?
No, I don't, and that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing that gives me complete confidence that the majority of the people are just watching this theater and not participating and not truly.
There goes that idea. No, it's true.
That's gone. Yeah, but it's the same characters over and. What my point was, it's the same.
But this is to punish. See, this is where they went wrong. They went with this whole punish meme. We need to punish him. We need to control him, and this is exactly what they did to Milosevic during the bombardment in Kosovo back to 1997. That was when I joined the U.S. military, and I was there, and it was somewhat surreal to see Tomahawk missile launchers shooting into a highly populated area, and then seeing the civilian casualties, the reality of these cruise missiles on TV via satellite moments later. Do
you think we become? I mean, do you think it just is boring? I mean, just boring to the average folk.
What's that? What we're talking about?
Yeah, no. The action itself. I mean, there's this massive disconnect. War. When we kill people now, it's pretty clean and easy. Not a lot of Americans die, and it's mainly done with drones or cruise missiles. And who cares? It's the Middle East.
Well, I think people are going to care when they're paying $4 at the pump when we have $152 barrel oil. And if Iran does pipe up and they made threats, if this does go forward and they do kickstart World War III, I'll tell you how Joe Public and Sally Soccer Mom are going to be affected, and that is in energy hikes, high electric bills, very expensive gas, and all of those other aspects. What if they close the Suez Canal? I mean, that's the rumor. What happens if they close the Suez Canal?
That's the I think the thing that a lot of people are missing. First of all, you have Russia and China, staunch Assad, Syria supporters.
They walked out on Cass Sustein's wife. She was there. Now, you know who Cass Sustein is. He's the guy that wanted the cognitive infiltration of conspiracy theorists. He wanted people to be on the payroll, going into your chat room, going into my chat room, listening to the DoomCast. Well, why wouldn't it? I mean, you don't want to be paranoid, but just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong. Just doesn't mean that they haven't. But anyway, she was at the where was this? She was giving the big spiel. U.S. intelligence officials. Where'd it go? Sorry, I had it right here. But anyway, she was the one trying to, give this speech. And, of course, her husband and a couple other former CIA spook types are going to be launching this investigation, which is completely ridiculous and not going to be, any better than what we saw coming out of the Kissinger report on 9/11. Put your own metaphor into the equation there. I mean, it's going to
be a big ball of fluff that means nothing, and it's going to get to the bottom of nothing, and it's going to amount to a look, we did the right thing, and no one's going to, there's going to be no outcome that's beneficial to people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Go.
Yeah, well, I think that the average Joe people are realizing that we are fighting alongside Al Qaeda, and that is creating a lot of cognitive dissonance, and I think a lot of people have now, come to this conclusion that we're not fighting something on a moral authority. We are not expanding our peace missions, or
This is the point I wanted to make there. That you have China and you have Russia, and they're very much in support of Assad. And as your statement said, or shows rather, that is the fact. And Russia's working nonstop to try to show, wait a minute, it isn't Assad potentially that did this chemical attack, and don't forget America is backing terrorists inside of Syria. But in an overall point of view, in an overall look at the scenario, you have Israel feeding information that is going to be quoted as the reason why we're going to go to war. You have the Suez Canal. You have, Syria itself only controls about 1% of the oil the world flows through their control. But that region of the world, certainly 40% plus flows through that region. Iran is their number one ally. And this absolutely could get into, here we go into religion again, to the Armageddon scenario that's spoke of in the Bible. It's that region of the world. It's the powers that we see in play now, and it is
Gog and Magog.
Yeah, Gog and Magog, and it's setting the stage for World War III. So SocGen today predicted 150 up to the upside for oil. And that would definitely translate into Sally, whatever you said. It was kind of funny. Sally
Soccer Mom.
Sally Soccer Mom and Joe Sixpack or whatever, paying $8 a gallon. But the other consequences are the world is starting to push back on imperialism. Regardless of what you think what we're doing is imperialism or not, the world is pushing back. And eventually, superpower will face superpower. And, it won't be our massive military against Muammar Gaddafi. It'll be technology against technology, and true blood will be shed.
Well, speaking of technology, did you hear about the Syrian Electronic Army that they had hacked Twitter in the New York Times?
What do you think of that? You ran a lot on that on Blacklisted News.
I think it's a false flag. I think that this is paid hackers that did this under the banner of Syria as a way to bring more fear that they could possibly retaliate in the cyber world, and in bringing about maybe a cyber false flag. So I mean, it's something that I keep my eye on, because why else would they be telling us this? Why would the Syrian government, first off, I mean, why would they go after Twitter? Obviously, that is not going to bode well or in their favor for them, so there's no real payoff. So it doesn't make any sense.
I thought it was real simple, right? You had the weekend for the populace of the planet to absorb how Assad is dumping chemical weapons onto his own people. You had a opening of the week with, okay, this news is out here. It's fermented for a few days. Now we're going to talk about how cyber attack is coming into play, and how the Syrian Electronic Army is ganging up on New York Times, Twitter, and just continuing to build the case for it's time to go in here and end this despot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just a thought. I mean, it seemed really staged, really canned, really coincidental, really B-movie script. How about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it keeps our mind off of other things that are happening in the background, whether or not they do this. And I'm wondering if this is just a big lead up to nothing, to another stalemate and regrouping and allowing this to move forward.
Nope.
Well, I mean, just let me postulate my theory here.
All right.
Just let me postulate my theory. Okay.
All right, postulate.
Okay. Now, if they back up, they let the world decide, the UN Security Council, the representative governments, respective governments of NATO decide not to go forward because they don't have the definitive proof. I think that they could play out and let this fact-finding mission, we still have the UN on the ground, go for a while, and then this would recodify the idea that the United States is bad and that the world government, world councils are better, and that we need these kind of oversight and bodies to exist to put the ever rambunctious and rebellious United States in its proper place.
Okay, so, I've heard what you said. Absolutely excellent argument, and I could see that scenario unfolding. Let me tell you my prediction. This is a bold prediction. By DC6, this is DC5, right? Yeah,
this is DC5, yeah.
Okay, DC6, you will, by this time next week, you will have some sort of military action unfolding or have unfolded against Syria. And Doug, this is
that's happening already. I mean, Israel's already missile struck them a few times. You're talking about the U.S. launching a strike.
Yeah, that's what maybe I should have said that. The U.S. Let me put it this way: drones, Hellfire missiles, cruise missiles, these things will be on your television before the next DoomCast, DoomCast 6. That's my prediction. So I'm either going to be looking really, really smart next Wednesday or not.
I'll be bringing crow for you to eat. If not,
it's gonna. Look, here's why I said no.
I have one right over there.
Bring the crow, man. Crow Magnum, man. Listen, you don't have the Secretary of State come out and talk about. It's a fact. I got the quote right here. Use of chemical weapons in an attack on civilians is undeniably at the hands of the Syrian government. I did paraphrase a little bit there. That was John Kerry a few days ago. The president has said he's convinced it is the Assad administration, and he's ready to act alone. You can't paint yourself into this corner and then look to be impotent. That, like it or not, this is what they...
So you agree with John McCain, ironically.
Well, I agree with the John McCain's, again, pardon the disgusting phrase, wet dream is going to come true. He's going to get yet another war, more dead people, and more terrorists. That old
Beach Boys song, Bomb Iran.
That's John McCain talking about bomb Iran.
Bomb. Anyway.
Yeah. He thinks it's funny. He thinks it's great.
Just the guy, you know what? The guy just makes me sick. He makes me sick. And I know the whole shot down, blah, blah, Vietnam, blah, blah. You know what? He is...
I think it's all fabricated. I think it's made up.
Even if it's not, who cares? I mean, it's 4 decades ago. Who cares? We got millions around the world dying. What does that mean? Because I'm a hero?
Well, let's talk about the real human cost here. I think that is completely absent of any of the discussion, and that is the human toll. Now, look at Iraq. 1 million plus Iraqis, hundreds of thousands of U.S. and Western soldiers.
Let me give you these numbers, okay? Here's some facts. All right, since this is the Gulf War and the first Gulf War, 2003 Gulf War, the second Gulf War, right? And there's reams. You probably have some recordings even of officials coming out saying it is absolutely a fact. Saddam Hussein is harboring Al Qaeda terrorists. A, Hillary Clinton said that. B, he has weapons of mass destruction. C, J. Rockefeller went on to say he's developing nuclear weapons and will have them within 5 years. And the time to act is now because he's a threat to freedom around this world.
Oh, yeah.
That's John Kerry, that's J. Rockefeller, that's Hillary Clinton, that's George W. Bush, that's R.E. Fleischer, that's everybody and anybody who was in a $10,000 suit and called themselves an official that could get before on a camera, sold invading Iraq on what we now know is completely lies. What did we get from it? Since the beginning of Operation New Dawn in Iraq, 66 of your fellow Americans are dead. Since Obama's inauguration in 2009, 256 Americans are dead in a war that we're not fighting anymore, allegedly. Since the handover in 2004, 3,627 American soldiers dead. Since mission accomplished on the aircraft carrier 2003, 4,347 Americans dead. Since the start of the war in March 2003, 4,488 Americans were killed. And let's not forget coalition troops, 319. Let's not forget military contractors, 1,487 American contractors dead. Journalists and academics, 700 dead. And if you're wondering why I'm not bringing up the Iraqis, well, I didn't forget them. They're human beings, and 1.45 million of them are now no longer on this planet since the beginning of the invasion of 2003. So words have very, very powerful consequences in Washington, D.C., so we shouldn't be so quick to accept this reality that they're painting for us.
Well, interestingly enough, this is what the people are watching. This is a CBS news report, and this is weighing the missile strikes. But at the end of this clip, they actually have a couple interesting nuggets of truth, and the bankrupt policy and what it bears is fruitless. So check this out. The nuggets.
As President Obama
praised
peace today, he also prepared for war. The Pentagon is awaiting the president's order to retaliate. As President Obama praised peace today, he also prepared for war. The Pentagon is awaiting the president's order to retaliate against the Syrian dictatorship for what the U.S. says was a poison gas attack on Syrian civilians. The president talked about his plan this evening in an interview with the PBS NewsHour.
If we are saying in a clear and decisive but very limited way, we send a shot across the bow saying, stop doing this, that can have a positive impact on our national security over the long term, and may have a positive impact in the sense that chemical weapons are not used again on innocent civilians.
The chemical weapons attack killed more than 300 people last week, mostly women and children.
Allegedly.
The Syrian dictatorship has been fighting a popular rebellion for 2 years.
Not that popular.
David Martin has the latest developments.
1 week after hundreds of people were killed, U.S. Navy warships went into a holding pattern in the eastern Mediterranean as the politics and diplomacy of a cruise missile strike grew more complicated. In London, Prime Minister David Cameron submitted a motion to Parliament that would require the UN chemical weapons experts currently in Syria to complete their work before any vote authorizing British forces to take part in a strike. At the State Department, however, spokeswoman Marie Harf said the U.S. doesn't intend to wait that long.
We are making our own decisions on our own timeline, and we believe that the UN inspection has passed the point where it can be credible.
2 submarines, 1 American, 1 British, are in the eastern Mediterranean, along with...
And that girl is a total ditz. I can't believe
I wanted to jump in, but I didn't want to cut that off. I was going to say, oh, my God. He totally did it. He totally did it. We're working on our own timeline.
She is so bad. She is the new spokesperson for the CIA, the State Department, and it's not good. I think she's just the fill-in, but she's like, oh my God, like John Kerry, he was like totally like looking at what Hillary Clinton had done, and then he did it better, and then he reviewed it, and we decided Benghazi was just a big mistake, and then we decided to give everybody their money. It's just like, oh my God, really?
4 American destroyers and a 5th on the way.
Lots of
all
weaponry.
Armed with cruise missiles. That's more than enough firepower for a strike Pentagon officials say would be limited to less than 50 targets. But quick strikes rarely solve America's problems. In 1986, the U.S. bombed Libya in retaliation for terrorist attacks against Americans. 2 years later, a suitcase bomb planted by Libyan agents brought down Pan Am Flight 103. After the bombings of 2 U.S. embassies in Africa in 1998, the U.S. launched cruise missiles at an al-Qaeda camp in Afghanistan. That did not stop Osama bin Laden from ordering the 9/11 attacks. A strike against...
So anyway, I mean, some of these the examples inaccurate and being used as a way to kind of...
But here's the thing. And you know, first of all, your impression of a ditzy whatever that is absolutely brilliant. I want to give you a big thumbs up on that. Good
Thank
job.
you. I am the thespian of the show.
Definitely, you are a thespian. But I think there is a time that if you're our age, I'm a little bit older than you, but I remember that '86 strike very, very well. There was a time where, in order to look tough or to look as if they're a leader, we would have a president or a nation launch something like that. But those times aren't what we're in now. I mean, it's very, very obvious, at least to me, and it is my opinion, that everything is happening in a timeline, right? A lot of people were talking it's going to be Iran 5, 6, 7 years ago, but then the table started to turn a little bit, and it looked like, okay, we're gonna attack this from the tail end first, right? We're going to go destabilize Iraq, destabilize that region, destabilize Afghanistan, and then we'll start chomping our way through Arab Springs and that kind of thing, one nation after another, till we get to the end goal, which is, we'll go in and knock off Iran. So when you see airstrikes Kosovo, or you see airstrikes Reagan, as he did against Gaddafi, I think a lot of that was flexing muscle, right? And the leader trying to show himself to be leader-esque. Now I see, any start of an attack is not going to be the end of it, and we've seen that over the last decade. Even if it's just a smackdown today, it will be boots on the ground tomorrow. And you know what? You don't have to believe me. All you have to do is look at look at the last decade. That's exactly what's come to pass.
Well, regardless, the foreign policy is not producing the results that the American people want or have been promised. You know, the $50 million war in Iraq, regardless of whether you think it was just or whether it has, been beneficial to the power structure. Oh, my poor doggo here's dying.
Here?
Come here, chili dog. Jeez, when'd you get a hold of? She likes to eat crickets and things. So
he's out in chemtrails because he's got some.
Oh man, this doesn't sound good. I can't even gate that out on this mixer. No, but regardless, we were told.
Fix your dog.
Yeah, well,
Is he all right?
Come on, dog. You'll be all right.
Come here.
Yeah. Yeah, she found something else to be more
We got
interested
to have
in.
the Doom Dog. If we don't have the Doom Dog, we don't have a show. So
She's become a mascot of the show. I use her in some of the clip art and the like. Hopefully, we'll get that all squared away. I think she's going to be fine. She'll drink some water. But anyway, I mean, it's just you go back and you look at what the real, not just the human toll, but the financial toll, $6 trillion. And we have a lot of people in this country that probably don't attribute nearly enough of the financial woes that we have to this, national deficit. $6 trillion. Look, we allegedly owe maybe 19 trillion, 16 and some change, according to the Federal Reserve. But it's not just. It's not just one of these things that you can ignore because it doesn't affect you. It's going to affect you at the gas pump. It's going to affect the ability for us to operate in a free market, and we're going to see a lot of I think downsides because of this in a lot of other ways.
Dog, man.
You're worried about the dog? No, my wife's taking care of the dog. The dog's fine. The dog will be just fine. But you know what? I attribute this to a statistic that I heard today, and then we're going to get into the comments because we want to wrap this up appropriately at the hour mark.
But would get comments, so
I found out that 8.96 million Americans legally buy prescription or on sleeping pills. It's pretty funny. Nobody could sleep, but if you go to a convenience store anywhere in the United States of America, there's tons of caffeine, energy drinks, boosts. So we're some of the most sleepy people in the world, and yet we cannot sleep when it's time. And so it's kind of, I think, a real indication of where we're going and why people are not nearly as upset about this. I mean, it's not just about people somewhere else that you don't have to look at, or it's about so much more.
No doubt about it, man. And I've done videos and programs on the drugged out nation, the legally drugged out nation that we are. And if I quote this stat wrong, I'm pulling this out of memory, so forgive me. But if I'm not mistaken, it was nearly 50% of women are on an antidepressant. The overall populace, it's pushing 30% are on a form of antidepressant or another. And you know what? I might have that wrong. It might be just a prescription drug. Over 50% of the populace, I know this one's true, over 50% of the populace is on one form of prescription drug or another. And sleep medications. Man, NyQuil won't be coming out with their what is the big sleep agent that's in Unisom, which is the exact same thing that it's an antihistamine that knocks you out. But NyQuil wouldn't be coming out with their own version that is just to knock people out if it wasn't a big moneymaker. I think there's a lot of I know there's a lot of stress and tension because of economic reasons in our country.
Sure.
Right? People, look at today.
Poverty has a real effect. It has a real stress.
Absolutely.
Money woes will worry you to death. When I had no money and we were living in a very bad place in Norfolk, Virginia, my palms used to shed. And I went to the doctor and I'm like, why are my palms shedding? And they're like, that's just stress. You're just stressed
kidding?
out.
I've had that happen to me. Are you kidding?
Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
You're stressed out, my friend.
They peel. They
just
literally peel.
They literally peel, and I literally thought that I had something, some kind of skin
crud,
irritation, fungus. I'm like, nope, you're just stressed out. I'm like, wow. the physical effects that manifest because of that. You lower your immune system. So, and people they don't eat the best food in this country either, considering. So it's amazing that we're not more zombified and completely apathetic. And when you poll the people, I think that they're seeing through this. So that's a great sign. Joe Public is seeing through this, but it also makes it very dangerous times because, like you said, when you lose the popular support, Charlie McGrath, bad things happen. Sometimes you have to get the people back on board. Sometimes the government has to punish you, just like they want to punish Bashar al-Assad. That extends to the American people as well. They want to punish you in some form or fashion, whether it's paying more for Obamacare. Now, 2 new executive orders that we didn't even talk about that are going to,
gun control,
that are being slid out. It's a counterpunch. Oh, you don't want the war in Syria? Well, have this. Ha ha.
Take some more gun control.
Yeah.
I was going to say legislation, but it's not. Take some more gun control executive order.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we want to move on to comments, but I do want to just touch on the stress level and and let people know, if you're hearing us for the first time, that I've talked at length on programs before about you are not your credit score. You're not your current financial situation. I know that that's hard to hear, and it's even harder to believe. But over the years, I've had just so many people that have been to that place of the abyss because they're worried about things that in the long run are completely irrelevant. And they're worried about a game that they're not truly a player in, right? The system is set up against them from the get-go. And you need to recognize that and see that you're a human being first and foremost, and everything else is secondary. So it really does break my heart when I see people that become so depressed or dependent on drugs or alcohol because they lost their home to foreclosure or because they lost their job and they took a lower paying one, they couldn't pay their bills, so their credit rating's at 200 or things like that.
Right.
You are not that. You are not that. You're a human being first and foremost. Do you want to get to some comments?
Well, yeah, I mean, just to summate, I think that there's a lot of ways people define one another or try to identify themselves. I was talking this weekend at a birthday party with my wife's godmother, and I said, in this society, we judge each other by our jobs. Everybody says, hey, my name's Doug. Hi, Doug. What is it that you do? What is it that you do? Are you a plumber? Are you a lawyer? Are you a football coach? Do you teach jujitsu? Do you sell products?
Whoa. Did you say jujitsu? Because that is anti-Semitic, and I don't know if we can have that.
Well, we'll just have to roll the dice. Maybe YouTube will censor us. I don't know.
All right, here we go.
So anyway, the comments are a great indicator of where we're going. And actually, we've had a few in the chat room that is attached to Spreaker. Patricia and let's see. We had Alpha Dog earlier. DJ Joey said, what's up? And Joni Zombie says the show is interesting, laughing out loud. So, and these are probably people that are more into music, so that's pretty encouraging. I think that these topics are not nearly discussed enough in this country, and that's why people are looking outside the mainstream jibber jabber and going to places like Spreaker, to YouTube, to other avenues. Unfortunately, to Facebook and to social media and even Twitter sometimes can be a little divisive and maybe just a little overwhelming. But the social aspect of this show is front and center. I mean, we do want dialogue. We do a dialogue, but we want it with the Doomers, the listeners as well. So we were able to pick through a few of the comments. I like the one about the stuttering. There's a guy that likes our show, but you and I stutter. He said you and Charlie both do it and would like us to stop. And I thought it was pretty funny just because I thought that, well, if I am a really bad stutterer, and I'm sure I do stutter from time to time to kind of reassess, readjust, and repoint the direction of the conversation in my mind to kind of get my bearings, I'm sure I zigzag a little bit. But the idea that I could actually stop that is, I don't know, I guess he's giving me a lot of credit or you a lot of credit to be able to actually just say, you know what, this guy says I shouldn't stutter, I shouldn't stutter. So I appreciate that in a kind of ironic, weird way.
Okay, well, I don't. I think it's try to talk for try to do a radio program or 25 minutes if we divided up each on this and talking, about any one topic. And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's what you do every day at work. Your conversation, if we're having a flowing conversation, you're going to have faux pas in it. Sorry. That's that's just the way it is. I'm not reading a script, neither are you, and I'm not starring in a movie here. So
you don't want something scripted anyway.
There's going to be this that kind of thing. That's going to happen. Sorry, but listen, I'm going to make you feel better.
Okay.
Because Awake Dude, I'm pulling comments from my YouTube channel, and excuse me, poor dog has transferred its doom illness onto me.
Dogs yawn and can cough and transmit that between human beings. It's a unique thing that happens between canine and human.
I'm feeling it. I'm pulling my comments off YouTube, off the YouTube channel. This last video that we put up last Thursday, we're about 1,200 people that have listened to it. Leave more comments. Usually, I have hundreds of comments on my videos, and I've got like 20 on this one. I know that people are watching it, but as you're listening to it, if you think of something, drop it in there. You're more than likely we'll pull it out. But I want to make you feel better about your horrible speech impediment, Doug Owen, because Awake Dude 911 says, Doug has a great radio voice. I used to listen to him on webcast. He used to do. So that was from Awake Dude 911. He absolutely loves you, apparently. And I just answered that comment with, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I wonder which webcast it was, but thank you, Awake Dude.
It was last week. This is DC4. I'm reading comments from DC4.
No. What the webcast was that he listened to previously. Gotcha. Just wondering.
I bet it was your network would be my guess.
Yeah. So let me see.
Your network literally reached out and touched scores of people.
Scores. Dozens. Maybe even thousands.
Maybe even more than that.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Okay, here's one. Glenn, all right, I'm going to read this to you, Doug, and I'm going to let you comment on it because I don't know how to take this.
Okay.
This is from Glenn, W-I-H, Glenn Weh. Homosexuality is a sexually perverted behavior.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Did you see that one?
Yeah.
It is a detriment to society. And it's not funny. Pedophiles are all homosexuals. Therefore, Bradley Manning should be in prison for the rest of his life for being homosexual. Now, this person's entitled, first of all, foremost, they're entitled to their opinion, and I don't think they have any expectation of that comment being private since they posted it to this video.
No.
But here's the deal, man. If you're homosexual, does it go? Do I believe that it's a lifestyle that is healthy? Nope. But am I going to do that? Am I going to leave that opinion out there that Bradley Manning should go to prison because he's gay? Man, I cannot get behind that comment at all. You?
No. I think ultimately I'm a libertarian, and I believe that you have the right to do whatever it is that you want to, maybe medically, maybe emotionally, or some of the other aspects spiritually, the aspects to that relationship. Whether it's okay or not, I don't think it's that abnormal. It's not atypical. It happens in other species, very similar to Homo sapien, and so it's not abnormal, and it goes back throughout human history. So to say that it's something new or something that's going to take over now, I think is a little bit of an embellishment on behalf of the people that are a little bit more homophobic.
All right.
I understand why people think this, because they come from it from either religious or somewhat moral aspect.
Wait a minute. Let me stop you right there. Because if Glenn Weh thinks that he should go to prison for the rest of his life because he's homosexual on a religious standpoint, well, then you know what? The people that are dyed in the wool, thumping the Bible Christians would be the first to tell you that everything we do, from the conception of birth to birth to everything we do in our life is a sin, all of which are enough to keep you away from the kingdom of heaven, or I dare say, you are going to hell. So for just to pick homosexuality as the sin that's going to land you in hell, or being the evil that it is. Well, all sins, according to the Bible, will keep you from God, keep you from heaven, and will send you to hell. So there's not one that's above another. So, I don't know. I see that, and I'm like, all right, listen, thanks for the comment, but come on, man. Get real. Bradley Manning, the homosexuality aspect of it is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
Non sequitur makes no relevance to me in the grand equation.
I'm going to piss somebody off. This is a much more relevant comment from Kurt Larson, is the commenter's name. 2 words: doom porn.
Doom porn.
Liked it.
Yeah.
Simple to the point.
Yeah, there's one. I'm looking for it right now. Let's see. Very annoying to have the TD Bank ads at the vid start, Charlie, just in case you controlled Google's ads. Yeah. I thought that was cute. Let's see.
I apologize for that. I really don't it's algorithms, man. They understand what we talk about on these channels, so you get if we talk economics, and guess what? You're going to get that kind of garbage. I apologize.
I see my man here, Mr. Bond, says, you two make dynamic team fire and ice excellent show. Keep it up. You two make dynamic team. He makes me sound like I have a problem. Yeah, I typed fast. There you go. So there's a few of the comments. I got a great email, and I just wanted to mention this to you, and I'll throw it out there, and then we can wrap this puppy up. And then next week we'll have a bunch of news, and we'll see if your prediction came true. But Angus writes, glad you've... Oh, excuse me. That's what I wrote back to Angus. Angus writes, hey, Doug, recently just stumbled upon your DoomCasts and subsequently Blacklisted Radio. Super rad stuff you've been doing, and it's fast becoming one of my favorite podcasts. I'm slowly sifting my way through your podcast, or the podcast you've done, and was wondering about state-sponsored terrorism. I've heard a bunch of stuff about it in regards to the good old USA and Great Britain, but I haven't really heard much about it regarding Russian involvement with state-sponsored terrorism or other countries' involvement. You have gone over. Have you gone over any Middle Eastern state-sponsored terrorists or other information on your older podcasts? I'm fresh to the game of these kind of media perspectives, but Jesus Christ, they're fascinating, and it does make a effing load of sense when you get right down to the bones of it. Surely you must know of some other must-listen-to podcasts and read literature, must-read literature. So I sent that to him, my must-listen-to podcasts and literature. And if you email me, I will tell you stuff that I listen to outside of what I do, and with the podcast themselves and other people I'm a fan of. But you have to email me. So I was thinking about this. And I came back with 2 examples, one of which was the assassination of Benazir Bhutto that benefited not only the Pakistani ISI, Musharraf, the former Pakistani president, who is now charged. I think he's being he's going to be jailed. He just went through a military tribunal or something but he used to be the golden boy, or one of the many golden boys of the U.S., just like Saddam and many others, even Bashar al-Assad, who used to hang out with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. They used to be good friends. I guess that all went south at some point, but those kind of things happen. You also have the decapitation of the Polish government back in 2010. What was it? It was the TU. It was the Tu-154 crash. And there was videos afterwards of Russian troops literally whacking survivors. A lot of questions about the altimeter, and the whole thing was very symbolic on this. I forget what it was. It was the Russian killing of the Polish soldiers. So those are just 2 examples of other governments using false flag terrorism that came to mind. And I said I would throw that at you, because it is something.
I think it's a great question. I think it's a great question that probably at some point deserves a podcast, because one could certainly make the argument that any effective, air quote, effective terrorism could be arguably state-sponsored terrorism. The big events that we can look at through history, including 9/11.
Bradley. Oops, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
No. That wasn't actually me. That was probably I tried to go to your page there to look at
gotcha.
the DoomCast comments and just started playing it.
Oh, okay. Brad. Now I'm lost. Anyway, I was going to say
Brady Manning is now Chelsea, and you better get that correct, sir. She does not like to be called Bradley.
Yeah, Bradlina. Anyway,
that's a big
I think it was a
itself.
great question from your email from your listener that sent you via email there.
Our listener, it's a Doomer.
Oh, the Doomer listener.
Yeah, from Australia. Cheers.
Good on you, mate. And I think an argument can be made that all terrorism is state sponsored. All terrorism is state sponsored. But like I said, that's for another show. I do want to get a couple more comments in. Skybird Bird, who's followed me on YouTube forever, says you guys are doing a great job. Keep it the way it is. Chrissy Shonda says I love you guys. That's a really nice one. And Fire and Ice, we already did that one. Good show, but please try to stop stuttering. We already covered that one. Overall,
I would if I could, sir. I would if I could.
Yeah, quit your stuttering. You know what? I want to comment on there. Quit your damn dog from sneezing, Doug Owen. It's really distracting me.
Yeah, give your dog mouth to mouth instead of doing the
okay.
podcast.
Oh, here's a topic. Here's a topic that came up, and we're not going to get into it at all here. But I want this. This was somebody who sent a topic. We had asked for that, and anybody who sends a topic, I'm reading the topic, even if we don't cover it at that time. I just want you guys to know that if you take the time to put this into a comment or an email, it's going to get read. Talk about the CAFRs for over 240,000 government enterprises debts that proves the U.S. corporation, U.S. Corp, is the majority shareholder of the Fortune 500. I've done multiple programs on this topic on Wide Awake News Radio, and frankly, I'm more confused by it than I am than I've got to the bottom of anything on it. And Doug, you and I could talk about it later. Maybe if we could put together a program on it. It's an interesting topic.
There's a lot of guys that really do focus on CAFRs, which are the comprehensive annual financial reports, and that's really the investments that your city makes. They actually have pension systems. Beyond that, they actually have property, and they have cash money that is not on the books. It's not part of the budget, and it goes into what they call here in Texas a rainy day fund. So you hear those kind of terms that are synonymous with CAFRs. That's the hardest thing to.
The numbers that are put out by the people that are pushing, doing exposés on CAFR are ginormous. Like 5 times our GDP is sitting there just waiting for the people to spend, and we could pay everything off and all debts and. The money's already sitting there waiting, but we're not given the true information to it, and the true reports and the true statistics on it.
But you can find them. I mean, I'm sure that they're just like any government numbers. You got to take all of them with a grain of salt because there is going to be political agendas that are attached or in those numbers. But that's not atypical. That's pretty typical. But you can find your comprehensive annual financial reports, and you can look them up. I've looked at them in my town here that I live in, the city rather.
So have I, and I'm still waiting for the smoking gun. That's what my point is. Yeah. I've had the people that have been guests, experts on it, send me reams of information on CAFR reports, and I've read them, and I'm like, okay, show me, break it down, because apparently I don't get it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money. I mean, ours, they have close to, I want to say, $5 billion in Texas's. So, that's a lot of money, but that's not a
Texas, the 12th largest economy in the world. That's not
but I think some of those figures and what people believe that they could actually get. The government, they might have buildings, but somebody has to buy them. It's just like my dad taught me. He said, you can have a Mickey Mantle baseball card that's worth $1 million, but unless you have somebody to buy it, it's only worth what that person's willing to pay you for that, and that's something that a lot of people can really benefit from because it's absolutely true.
Son of Liberty 3, do me a favor, info@wideawakenews.com if anybody wants to drop me a message.
Yeah, I would like to see more information about it. Sure, and so it's not that I want to poo-poo the idea, but I've looked at it as well. And Walter Van Buren, I don't know if you've ever interviewed him, but he is one of the guys who's kind of a go-to or resident alternative media expert Walter Van Buren. And maybe we'll have him on the Doomcast, but he has a lot on it, and I don't know if he's, if it's too phenomenal, or whatnot.
And that's the shade of this world we live in, Doug Owen. There's so many niches in it that some of them, truly I draw my attention, and some of them I am there for a minute, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on this because it makes more sense. And in most cases, it's the outright lie, boldface, not hiding back in reports beneath the file cabinet. The bold-faced collusion between special interest and government, the bold-faced lying to the populace to get us into war. I mean, these things that are happening not secretively but in our face are the things that typically draw my attention. And so, absolutely, I miss out, I'm sure, on topics that are important.
Well, yeah, you can't know everything or follow everything, and so certain things are going to draw more of your attention towards them, and you're going to have people that. And I think it's a great thing that specifically focus on certain issues and do become experts or resident experts on those issues so that they can have more in-depth analysis and provide that. And so, we want to be a conduit, a channel for that good information and get it to people. And so if they have questions about it, I'm just glad that they're asking us because they respect our opinion, and that's why.
No doubt. And all participation, unless they're put them in jail because they're gay,
Hey, we've already got too many people in the prisons, and guess what? Last time I checked, there's a lot of gay people there, and it hasn't changed anything.
It didn't start out that way, maybe?
I don't know. That's
debatable. I am
debatable.
Charlie McGrath, WideAwakeNews.com. My co-host is Doug Owen, BlacklistedNews.com.
That's right.
This has been Doomcast number 5. I appreciate everybody's participation. Please keep the comments coming in, keep the topics coming in, and we will be back next week to see if my bold prediction comes to pass. Doug Owen, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to Doomcast number 6 coming up next week. Until then, everyone, take care.
Take care of that sick dog, brother.
Yeah, I will. All right, my friend, that's a wrap.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Spreaker listeners.
That's right.
I got a little.